Hello to all the replay viewers. Thank you for watching after we're through here. And hello to everybody who's joining in tonight too. Tonight we're going to talk about 7 ways to stop feeling overwhelmed. And this is a perfect day for me to talk about it because I was feeling completely overwhelmed today. I didn't get a good night's sleep. I woke up late. So I didn't get all my work done this morning, and then I had a bunch of kids over this afternoon to teach speech and interpersonal communication, which was really fun. But anyway, I just didn't feel like I was getting my work done. So I'm guessing all of you guys out there, hello everybody who's joining, I'm guessing you all know what it's like to just feel overwhelmed with life, right? I don't think any of us could have gotten by without that happening. So I want to talk about 7 different ways. Hi, how are you doing? The Thompson tribe. Elaine, how are you doing? Yeah, I haven't been on here very much lately. But I'm hoping to get back to it a little bit. I'm going to do it today, and I can't remember what other day. I think it was going to be Thursday at some time. I can't remember. Hi, Kay, how are you doing? Okay, well, I want to talk about 7 ways to stop feeling overwhelmed. And the first step is to find out why you're overwhelmed. You know, whenever we think we're overwhelmed, we think it's because we have so much to do. But at least for me, 9 times out of 10, when I stop and think about it, it's not so much all the work, even though that certainly enters in. But a lot of times there's some sort of emotional factor that's causing the problems. Like maybe we feel like we have to be perfect. Or maybe we're worried that we're not living up to somebody's expectations. Some other things are maybe we're having to do something that we don't really feel like we should have to do, or we feel underappreciated. So a lot of times those emotional things can start making us feel overwhelmed even beyond the work. So first of all, check out to figure out why you're overwhelmed. The second is renew your mind. You know, I talk about the renewing of the mind at my blog, barbraveling.com, for any of you who haven't heard much about the renewing of the mind. So I won't go into it now, but the renewing of the mind takes time, and you might think, why would you want to take time when you're feeling overwhelmed to sit down and renew your mind? Well, the reason we do it is because have you ever tried to go through your whole day just stressed out like crazy? Do you work that well when you're really stressed out? Are you happy? The truth is, it takes some time to go to God for help with our problems, to see life from His perspective. But it's either that, or it's going through the whole day all stressed out, overwhelmed, unhappy. We might get annoyed easily. We might be insecure. So it's totally worth the time to go to God, because that way we'll be walking in the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace. Peace is the opposite of stress. So definitely take the time to renew your mind if you're feeling overwhelmed. And often whenever I renew my mind, that's when I find out, oh, wait a minute, it's not all that stuff I have to do. It's that I feel like I'm not living up to these guys' expectations and they're unhappy with me. Or you'll find some sort of reason like that. And so right away, I stop feeling overwhelmed, I bet, 70% of the time. Okay, but we're still left, after we renew our mind, we're still left with all that work. So the third step is to make a list. Now, in the I Deserve a Donut book and in the Renewing the Mind book, if you look under stress, beginning of the workday, it kind of gives you a little outline for making a list. You can make a list of everything you have to do. And then it says, what 2 things are you dreading the most? So what I do is I take my list and I look for whatever I'm dreading the most, and I put a little D by it with a circle. And then it says, what 2 things are the most important? And then I put an I by it with a little circle around the I. And then, is there anything you absolutely need to get done today? And with that one, I just put an N and a circle. Okay, I also ask, is there anything God wants you to do the day that's not even on the list? And sometimes I'll find things to add on my list that should be there that God wanted me to do. But what that does for me is when I look at those little circled letters, the D, the I, and the N, that kind of shows me what's stressing me out, what's making me feel overwhelmed. And a lot of times it'll be one item on the list, so I'll have a D, an I, and even an N. So then I'll know, okay, that's the one I need to focus on. If you can, try and focus on the ones that you dread the most, because those are often the ones that are making you feel most overwhelmed. It'll either be that or the important ones or the needed ones. So the next step after making a list and you put all those little letters on it is to prioritize. Okay, so what are you going to do first? Okay, what are you going to do second? What are you going to do third? And a lot of times I'll just number them 1, 2, or 3. And after you do that, the fifth step is to focus. So what you want to do is you want to wipe out everything else from your mind except the one thing that you're doing right now. And that way, if we think of everything at once that we have to do, we'll go crazy, right? So we want to try and wipe that off. Just think of that first thing on the list we're trying to do. Because a lot of times, if you put the most important one on the list first, it really won't be a big deal if the other things don't get done, as long as we get that most important one done, especially if that's the one causing the most stress. Okay, the sixth item I have, and this is actually from an old blog post that I wrote, I don't know, a couple years ago. If you want to have all these 7 steps in order, you can get them by going to my Pinterest page at barbraveling under Letting Go of Negative Emotions. I have a little pin. Here, I'll show you. I think I have it right here. That picture of that little lady feeling overwhelmed. Okay, the sixth one is to set boundaries. Okay, what happens when we're feeling overwhelmed? Don't you guys sometimes want to work all night or just keep working? And we need to set boundaries so that we still stop at a certain time, so we have some time to get a good night's sleep, maybe get some exercise, go outside, see some friends. Because if we're just working all the time, we'll just be in that frenzy and we'll keep being overwhelmed. So set boundaries as far as when you're going to stop work. And if you're the type of person that has a hard time working, set boundaries as far as when you're going to work. So like maybe I'll say I need to keep working until 5 because my temptation at 1 or 2 o'clock and then after I've done a lot of work during the day is thinking, I shouldn't have to work anymore. And so I'll quit early and that'll make me overwhelmed because I really haven't had enough time to get everything done. Then the last step is just remember that life is about loving God and others. So often the things that we have on our list, they're not all that important. If we only had a few days left to live, maybe those wouldn't be the things that we'd really feel like we had to get done. So when we take a breather and remember, you know what? Life is about loving God. I can love God. Life is about loving others. And then we don't feel like we have to do all those things on the list. Hi, Melanie. How are you doing? I'm just about ready to close out for the day. But great, Elaine. I'm glad that was helpful. So that's all I had. I don't know if anybody else has any tips they have for not being overwhelmed. Like I feel like on some days, like today, I don't know how many times I renewed my mind today to try and stay peaceful. Yeah, I didn't see your notification. But anyway, I had to renew my mind quite a few times today to try and stay peaceful because I was feeling overwhelmed. And sometimes we just have to do that. And we always think, okay, if you have a hard day, the next one's going to be better. Why don't you move to Iowa? That would be fun. I've heard people are really friendly over there in the Midwest. Anyway, so that's it. And I hope you guys have a good night. And thanks a lot for joining in. I'll talk to you later. I just flipped my calendar instead of this little thing.